Ladies and gentlemen, there comes a moment in your life when you realize that not every battle is meant to be fought with words. Not every confrontation requires a reaction, and not every insult deserves a reply. There is a deeper kind of strength, one that doesn't scream to be seen, doesn't shout to be heard. It simply is. That's the kind of strength that lives in silence. It's the stillness that speaks volumes. It's the calm in your spirit when everything around you is in chaos. You see, it takes real power to hold your tongue. It takes courage to sit still when everything in your flesh wants to lash out, to prove, to fight. But silence requires trust, trust in who you are, trust in whose you are, and trust that the truth doesn't need to be defended by noise. There's something majestic about silence. Lions don't roar to announce their authority. They just are. And their presence is enough to command the room. You don't have to perform when you know your position. You don't have to beg for attention when you're rooted in your identity. There is strength in restraint, power in pause, might in meditation. When you choose silence, you're not bowing down, you're rising up, rising above pettiness, rising above drama, rising above the temptation to lose yourself trying to prove yourself. Some people think loudness is strength, but shouting doesn't make you wise. Responding in anger doesn't make you powerful. In fact, often it's the one who stays calm that ends up winning. The one who sits quietly, observing, discerning, praying. The one who doesn't let others pull them out of character. That person holds true power, because if someone can control your reaction, they control you. But when you choose silence, you take back control. You say, I will not be manipulated. I will not be dragged into foolishness. I will not sacrifice my peace just to prove a point. There's a difference between being silent and being silenced. When you are silent by choice, you're choosing wisdom. You're choosing maturity. You're choosing to protect your energy. Sometimes you don't speak because God is doing the speaking for you. Sometimes your silence makes more noise than any argument ever could. And the very people who tried to pull you into their mess will look up one day and see you walking in your purpose, untouched by their chaos, unshaken by their words. So, don't be afraid to be quiet. Don't let the world fool you into thinking you have to respond to everything. The most powerful people are often the ones who say the least, because they don't need to be loud. They just need to be effective. When you walk in true strength, your silence becomes your roar. There is a time when you must look at your life and decide that your emotional energy is sacred. You can no longer afford to waste it on things that don't serve your destiny. Emotional detachment isn't about being cold. It's not about shutting down or closing yourself off. No, it's about protecting what's inside of you. It's about building a shield around your heart so you don't give away your peace to people who haven't earned access to your spirit. You detach not because you're bitter, but because you're focused. You detach because you've discovered that some battles are not yours to fight, and some storms are not yours to calm. When you learn to emotionally detach, you're not ignoring your feelings, you're managing them. You're telling yourself, I see what's happening, I feel the weight, I recognize the tension, but I will not be moved. That's strength. That's discipline, that's maturity, because emotional detachment is the ability to sit in a storm and not let the storm sit in you. It's the grace to hear the chaos and choose not to echo it. It's the power to witness foolishness and decide not to participate. That's how you guard your purpose. Too many people lose their calling because they got caught up in their feelings. They made permanent decisions based on temporary emotions. They sacrificed their peace to win an argument that didn't matter. They gave up their focus to chase down distractions dressed like a fence. But when you detach, you protect what God is doing in you. You say, I won't let a petty situation pull me out of character. I won't give my tears to a moment that doesn't deserve them. I won't lose my future trying to fix someone else's dysfunction. You have to get to the place where your purpose is more valuable than your pride, where your peace is more important than proving a point, where your future matters more than getting the last word. That's what emotional detachment does. It gives you clarity. It helps you see the difference between what's urgent and what's important. It reminds you that you don't have to react to everything that comes your way. You're not cold, you're not heartless, you're focused, you're disciplined. You've come too far and been through too much to let someone pull you into a situation that God already brought you out of. When you detach, you're saying, I still love you, but I love my peace more. I still care, but I care enough to let go. I still feel, but I refuse to drown in what I can't change. So protect your emotions, guard your energy, stay rooted in purpose, because the more you grow, the more you'll realize not everything deserves your attention. Not everyone deserves your reaction. Some things are best answered with silence and protected by distance. There is a kind of power that doesn't shout. It doesn't slam fists or raise voices. It doesn't break things to prove a point. This kind of power walks into the room with peace in its eyes and stillness in its step. It doesn't need to announce itself because its presence shifts the atmosphere. That's the power of calm, and calm is not a weakness. It is strength under control. It is thunder wrapped in velvet. It is a storm that knows how to stand still. When you are calm, you are dangerous, because calm is clarity. Calm sees what chaos cannot. Calm hears what noise drowns out. Calm has the patience to wait, the wisdom to listen, and the discernment to move at the right time. Calm is not passive. It is purposeful. It's a conscious choice to stay grounded when everything around you wants to shake you loose. It's saying, I see the fire, but I will not let it burn me from the inside out. Anybody can explode. Anybody can lash out. But it takes discipline to stay composed when you've been provoked. It takes maturity to be misunderstood and still not retaliate. It takes spiritual strength to be lied on and still walk in love. That's what calmness does. It frees you from the control of outside circumstances. It puts you back in the driver's seat. It tells every demon of distraction, you can't have my reaction. You can't have my energy. You can't have my peace. You see, calm is not the absence of emotion. It's the mastery of it. It's the understanding that you don't have to allow every emotion to take the wheel. You can feel it without feeding it. You can acknowledge it without acting on it. And that's where the real strength lies. The battlefield is in the mind, and calm is the soldier that says, I will not lose this war today. In moments of pressure, calm doesn't crack. Calm listens, calm evaluates, calm waits on God's timing. Some of the most powerful decisions you will ever make will not be in moments of rage, but in moments of stillness. When you're calm, you can hear the whisper of wisdom. When you're calm, you can discern the motives behind the mask. When you're calm, you can see the trap before it's set. So don't let the world rush you. Don't let people pressure you into panic. Stand still, breathe deep, hold your peace, because your calm is a weapon. It protects your vision. It guards your heart. It sustains your strength. You don't have to prove yourself in panic when God has already validated you in private. Walk into rooms with calm in your spirit and authority in your silence, because when you're calm, you're dangerous, and when you're dangerous, the enemy gets nervous. There comes a point in your journey where you realize that peace is not just a luxury, it is a necessity. It is not something you stumble upon, it is something you fight to protect. Peace is your sanctuary. Peace is your power. And if you don't guard it, the world will steal it, people will trample on it, and circumstances will crush it. You must be intentional about your peace, because everything that disrupts your peace is also after your purpose. There are people, situations, and spirits that thrive on chaos. They feed on your reaction. They measure their strength by your weakness. They wait for you to explode so they can say, "Look, I told you they weren't who they claimed to be." But when you guard your peace, you disarm every lie. You silence every trap. You confuse the enemy because you refuse to play his game. Your peace becomes your protection, your strategy, your defense. Peace isn't passive, it's proactive. Guarding your peace means setting boundaries. It means choosing who has access to your space. It means being able to say, "No, I won't let that energy in here. I won't let that conversation drag me down. I won't let that attitude plant seeds in my spirit." Sometimes the most spiritual thing you can do is block a number, walk away, or close your mouth, because you've learned that preserving your peace is not selfish, it's wise. When you guard your peace, you think clearer, you move smarter, you love deeper, you hear from God better. Because chaos clogs the channel, but peace clears the way. It opens your ears to truth, your eyes to discernment, and your heart to wisdom. When you walk in peace, you're not moved by every opinion. You're not rattled by every storm. You've got an anchor in your soul. You've got a calm that doesn't come from the outside, it comes from within. There will be times when your peace is tested, times when everything in you wants to fight, defend, argue, and clap back. But peace says, "Let God handle it." Peace says, "This battle isn't worth my sanity." Peace says, "I've got too much purpose ahead of me to get stuck in this foolishness behind me." And when you make that choice over and over again, you begin to walk in power that the world can't understand. You don't have to prove your strength through noise. You prove it through your stillness, through your restraint. Through your ability to stand in the middle of confusion and remain unshaken. That is the kind of peace that confounds the world and glorifies God. So guard it, defend it, protect it like the treasure it is, because once you lose it, everything else begins to unravel. But when you protect your peace, you protect your purpose, and when you protect your purpose, you preserve your future. You've got to come to a place in your life where you stop reacting to everything that pokes at your pride. There's a difference between being aware and being reactive. One is driven by wisdom, the other is driven by ego. And when you spend all your time reacting to every jab, every whisper, every lie, you lose sight of your assignment. You are not called to respond to foolishness. You were called to rise above it. You were not built to waste your energy on noise when you've been designed to live in purpose. Not every fire is yours to put out. Not every invitation deserves your RSVP. Some arguments were sent to drain you. Some conflicts were crafted to distract you, and the enemy knows he doesn't have to destroy you. He just has to get you to fight the wrong thing. He just has to get you to react instead of respond. But when you make up in your mind that you're not going to lower yourself to every level you're called out to, You start walking like someone who knows who they are. Sometimes the best answer is silence. Sometimes the greatest victory is in your absence, not your presence. You don't need to show up to every battle. You don't need to correct every false narrative. Because when you're secure in your identity, you don't chase clarity through chaos. You don't run after approval when you've already been affirmed, and you don't respond to every attack when you know the truth will eventually stand on its own. You've got to be willing to let people be wrong about you. Let them talk, let them assume, let them spin stories. Because when you choose elevation over retaliation, you give heaven room to work on your behalf. You give divine justice time to do what flesh wants to rush. And when you choose to rise, you align yourself with your calling, not with your critics. There is no promotion in petty. There is no peace in proving your point. There is no reward for always being right. But there is a crown for those who endure with grace. And grace doesn't respond to ignorance with more ignorance. Grace walks away. Grace smiles and keeps building. Grace ignores what doesn't align with destiny. So the next time something tries to drag you into a fight you didn't ask for, stop and ask yourself, is this worth my energy? Does this serve my purpose? Will this elevate my spirit or drain my soul? If the answer is no, then let it go. Walk away. Stay grounded. Because every time you choose to rise above instead of react, you grow stronger. You grow wiser. You grow closer to who you were always meant to be. And that kind of growth speaks louder than anything you could ever say with your mouth. There comes a moment in your life where you must understand that talk is cheap and noise is plentiful, but results are rare. In a world that celebrates those who can shout the loudest, post the most, and perform endlessly for attention, there is a deeper, quieter kind of glory that comes from consistency, obedience, and discipline. Let your results speak. Let your fruit speak. Let your progress be the only announcement you make. Because when your life is moving in purpose, your silence becomes the loudest voice in the room. You don't have to explain yourself to everybody. You don't have to convince people of your growth. Some people will never believe in your transformation because they're too committed to who you used to be. But that's not your problem to fix. You've been called to build, not beg, to create, not chase, to move forward, not manage other people's opinions. So stop trying to prove yourself with words and start letting your work testify for you. There's a power that comes from putting your head down and doing the work. From praying in private and producing in silence. From sowing in tears but reaping in strength. Because when the harvest shows up, the same people who questioned your journey will have no choice but to acknowledge the fruit. You don't have to defend your name when your results are undeniable. You don't have to argue when your actions speak clearly. The evidence will silence the critics. Sometimes you've got to stop explaining and just execute. Let the doubters watch. Let the skeptics spectate. While they gossip, you grow. While they mock, you mature. While they talk, you build something that will outlive their opinions. That's the power of silence and results. They work hand in hand. One protects your focus, and the other reveals your favor. God doesn't bless noise, He blesses effort. He blesses consistency. He blesses obedience when no one is watching. So stay committed to the assignment. Stay faithful in the field. Don't announce every move. Don't post every step. There is something sacred about doing the work in silence and letting the outcome shine. Because when the time is right, the doors will open the platform will be set, and the very thing you built in secret will speak for you in public. So don't be discouraged if nobody's clapping for you yet. Don't feel overlooked if your process is quiet. Seeds grow in silence before they ever rise to the surface, and when they do, there's no denying what's real. The fruit speaks, the growth speaks, the transformation speaks. Let them wonder how you did it. Let them question how you made it. But don't waste a second trying to explain it. Just keep rising, keep building, and let your results do all the talking.